I'll call this meeting to order on Monday, March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. It's the only day I wear this shirt. I want to welcome everyone. Tonight we have with us Pastor Phil. This is a good Irish name. Mangielli. Is that it? Man, that's great. The church at the square, 4128 Charleston Trail. He's going to come forward and give our invocation. Also, we got a Boy Scout troop here, Boy Scout Troop 554. And after you give the invocation, I'm going to ask that those guys come up and lead us in the pledge to the flag, if that's okay with you, since I butchered up your name. So why don't you guys come up now, and y'all can stand right here, and then we'll introduce them after we do the prayer. So everyone please stand.
Yeah, what an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, let's pray. Father, we just thank you for the privileges and the freedoms that you've given us. God, we remember tonight the billions of people around the world who don't have what we have. The chance to have a voice, the chance to have a government who hears, the chance to make a difference. And so we start by just saying thank you. Thank you that we have the privilege to be Americans, privilege to live in Georgia, and a privilege to live in Smyrna. We pray tonight for our leadership, for our mayor, for our city council. God, we thank you that they are here to serve us, to lead us. And tonight, God, I ask for a special blessing of wisdom, of justice, of compassion. Lord, that you would lead them and that they would lead our city faithfully. We thank you for everything you're doing in our city and that you love our city. And what an honor it is to serve and to see the city of Smyrna become everything you've made it to be. God, we ask that in this next season, you would see our city become such a prosperous, alive place, that it would be one of the marking points of Georgia, that people would look to our city as a place of prosperity, as a place of justice, as a place of hope, as a place of grace, and as a place where people genuinely want to live because the life that's here is worth living. So, Father, we say thank you. Would you be with us tonight? I pray over every single piece of business and meeting that needs to take place, that your will would be done and that wisdom would be had. In Jesus' name, amen.
Ask that Troop 554, if they'll come forward and lead us in the pledge. Don't be afraid. Do you want to introduce the guys first before we do the pledge? Or? You want me to introduce the guys? Scouts. You want to do it? You want to do it? Senior patrol leader. Go for it. Yep.
Okay. I am Isaac Graves, and I serve as our senior patrol leader.
I'm Cameron Hughes. Everett Sinclair. Leighton Scott. Luke Legg.
Thomas Blackwood.
Alex McCoy. Daniel Keith. Caleb Cordes.
Dimitri Zampanis. Colson Gullidge. John Morris.
Patrick Spellecy.
Ethan Powell.
Daniel Justice.
And the big kid at the end.
I'm Sammy Powell, Scoutmaster.
Now y'all loosen the pledge of the flag. The guys up.
Got salute. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sam, you want to say anything else, or you got something to give us? Good deal. Thank y'all so much. Especially that Gullidge kid. Where's that Gullidge kid at? Yeah, I know your dad. Thank y'all so much. You got something, okay?
As has been my tradition since I've been on council, I like to recognize the Scouts and what you do in the community. And thank you for what you're doing to become better men, and we appreciate it. I take the opportunity to accept flags that have gone beyond their useful life and deserve a proper retirement. And I ask a Scout troop to bestow that honor on allowing this flag to be properly retired. And I present to Scout Troop 554 this flag for proper disposal. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'll say a word on behalf of the troop. All right.
Mr. Fennell, I would just point out for you and the other members in the audience that the young man receiving the flag is Mr. Isaac Graves. Your Honor, a member of your alma mater, Campbell High School's boys lacrosse team, which is setting new records. They have now won 3 games this season, the most in history, and Isaac is a big part of our team. It's nice to see him here.
Isaac, glad to have you. Agenda changes. I don't think we have any. Mayoral report. We have someone here that's running for Supreme Court Judge, Juanita Stegman. And Juanita, you want to come forward and say something real quick? And
sure, thank you.
If there's anybody else running for office, I think the election's in April or something, or May.
It's May the 20th. That's the date to remember. But I do want y'all to know that I don't know one of those boys in my court. So, and I will tell you that that's probably because they're Boy Scouts, because Boy Scouts truly do build character. And the only way I ever usually see a Boy Scout is they come and observe. I'm Juanita Stedman. Thank you to the council, to the mayor, and to the citizens. I'm running for Superior Court Judge. I've been a juvenile court judge for 13 years. In that capacity, I have sat as a Superior Court judge 1 week a month, so 1/4 of my time has been doing that. So I bring the experience that the other candidates do not have the privilege of having, because it has been my privilege. I do think also that I have a reputation for having served this community and served Cobb County, and I truly will continue to do that as a Superior Court. So thank you for allowing me to say this. And it's May the 20th. They've moved that primary up, so we all need to remember. Thank you.
And I told Juanita upstairs that she had 2 minutes, and she did it in less than 2. She did it in less than 2 down here, so it was good. Under the mayoral's report, I had a note somewhere. We received some absolutely wonderful news this past Friday, I guess it was, where our rating companies, I think Standard & Poor, gave us an upgrade. We were a AA plus to a AAA. That says a lot about our financial stability in our community. I think there's only 3 other cities in the state of Georgia that have AAA rating, and that is big. We found out about a week ago, and we're not able to say anything about it, but having a AAA rating is something else. So, we'll get into the regular portion of the agenda, which is land issue zonings and annexation. A is 2014-054. Public hearing zoning request Z14-007. Approval of a zoning amendment to modify zoning condition number 1 of Z13-008. 1.35 acre tract, land lot 593. 1523 and 1531 Spring Street, JWB Properties LLC. Is the applicant here? Okay. Mr. Taylor, the background, please.
Mr. Mayor, the mayor and council approved the original rezoning from R15 to RAD conditional for this development of 4 single-family homes by a vote of 7-0 at the August 19, 2013 meeting. One of the standard stipulations that was included in this rezoning relates to the composition as relates to hardy plank on the facade. Tonight, JWU Properties is seeking approval of a zoning amendment to modify the zoning condition for this case, and the proposed modification will allow for the use of hardy plank siding on the home elevation that fronts on Spring Street. This amendment will allow the homes to be constructed as originally proposed in the previous rezoning. Staff has reviewed it, and staff does recommend approval.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone here that's in opposition to, or that would like to make any public comment concerning this issue? Okay. Let the record show there is none. This is in Ms. Terry Nulowich's ward. Ms. Nulowich.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. Ken Sedgwick up to give a little bit more background on the issue.
Thank you. This was really a fairly simple issue that it's really been picked up by what Mr. Taylor outlined. It is a request to amend not just a condition that we added, but a standard condition that talks about how the front facade looks from the street. We went through a rezoning case several months ago involving this property to allow 4 lots to be created in an RAD zoning classification with conditions, and those conditions obviously picked up the standard conditions. So the specific issue would be to modify condition 1 of the zoning case Z13, which was last year, 008, to allow the use of hardy plank on the building elevations facing Spring Street. Just to remind you, everybody where that is, we both have the zoning map and the future development map up on the screen. This is the currently approved site plan, the one that was approved last year. There are 4 lots that we approved, and the elevations, they do have proposed porches on the front. One of the things that I think makes this particular request acceptable is that they are breaking up the front facade, so that is the use of hardy plank in this case staff does not have any problem with. Obviously the subject property is ready to go. It's been cleared and just waiting really for this amendment to occur to go further. Adjacent property. I did bring up what the specific recommendation was last year, just to show you that it is in condition number 1, and you can see that it says the residents whose lots abut external roadways shall not be permitted to utilize hardy plank for any elevation facing these roads. So that is the sentence that we are just deleting from that, so that the issue of a hardy plank could then be used. Again, recognizing that hardy plank is a trademark name, but I think we all know what we're referring to. All of the other conditions that we had approved that night, all of the standard conditions as well as the special conditions, so all total, we had 23 conditions there that we're only amending the very first one by eliminating that. And with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you please return to the slide with the photographs of the adjacent and nearby properties?
Are these the ones you're referring to here?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it looks like these are all, some of these are, there's a photo of a newer home, there's a photo of some existing homes, and it looks like they're uniformly siding on all 4 sides.
Yes, that's correct.
I just wanted to point that out because I think that to my mind this brings this request in keeping with the existing character of the neighborhood, both with homes that are original to the community and homes that have recently been built in the community.
Ken, is this just 2 houses?
It's 4 lots,
okay.
So it would be, and they all front onto
okay.
Spring Street,
okay.
So it would affect all 4.
Yeah.
Any questions, Mr. Sudworth? Mr. Lincecum?
Mr. Sudworth, do you know on the building elevations that are submitted what part is or is not hardy plank siding on the front elevation?
Mr. Langer, I do not. I don't know how but yeah, Mr. Brown is here, and I'm sure he can answer that question.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Sudworth? Okay.
I'd like to invite Mr. Brown to come forward, please. I know he probably has a little bit more information that he'd like to share about this issue.
Scott, does he need to be sworn in? Okay. No, nobody else wanted to speak.
I do. I'm a much better builder than I am a speaker. Your question, that one house, the house on the left in the photographs, has a board and batten siding, but all the material that we use on the outside of houses today is not necessarily Hardy Plank, which is a brand, but it's fiber cement products and a lot of poly products. The idea is that we don't put anything on the outside of the house that will rot. So we usually refer to it as non-rot products.
Right, and in the past we had a councilman that taught us the word cementitious siding, and I think that's describing the same thing. Hardy Plank, as I understand it, is like Kleenex. It's a brand.
Yes.
Facial tissue would be generic. Cementitious siding, or what you said, would probably be a more generic description. Is there anything on the front of the two homes that you're proposing that is not that type of siding?
Not on siding, but we're going to have brick features also. Around the water table will be brick, and there'll be brick used under those columns on some of the porches and stuff. So there'll be brick features, brick porches. The floor of the porches will be brick. Because the houses are sitting above the street, you'll see that brick accent.
Okay, I actually think that'll be very attractive.
Just for the record, do you identify yourself? And
I'm sorry. I'm Jim Brown.
And you JWB Properties, right? Okay.
James Brown, to be correct.
Middle name?
Woodrow.
Okay, I'd go with the Jim.
I do.
Any other questions? Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions for you, Mr. Brown. I would like to mention that in the conversations that we've been having as a council and with staff related to this issue, it's come up that there are, when you have a blanket stipulation like this that applies to basically anything that's been built in recent history in Smyrna, easily the past 10 years, it's a little bit limiting, because one of the things that I think makes Smyrna special is the fact that so many of our neighborhoods can boast very unique characteristics. For example, Williams Park, where these homes that we're speaking about tonight are located, it is the norm to have homes that are siding on all four sides. They'll have brick porches, some have wood porches, but the homes and the variants that we're talking about tonight is absolutely consistent with what is built in the property. To my view, to build a home that has a brick facade, which is required by the stipulation, you would have a home with a brick facade and then you could have siding on the other three sides. That is inconsistent with what currently exists in that community, and in my own opinion is not necessarily a look that enhances the overall feel of a neighborhood and the feel of the quality in the neighborhood. You think about a facade, you think about it's a veneer. It's not really something, it's not even like having all three sides brick. You just have it's a false front in a lot of ways. And I think that that's not what the community has in mind as redevelopment really picks up in this community. And I think that a lot of other communities might feel the same way. So one thing I would like to open up the conversation to tonight, and we've spoken with staff about this, we've talked about this as a council, is going ahead and making some revisions to these standard sets of stipulations that reflect the way homes have changed, the way designs have changed, the way that people really recognize that there are individual characteristics within these communities. One term I heard today for the first time, and I'm still not 100% if I'm going to use it correctly, is baggage. For example, you have what exists in a community. And I think that that's something we really need to look at as a city, and that I would like staff to examine and to bring to us in the very near future.
In light of that comment, this is a book that I got from Norfolk, Virginia, which is called a pattern book. And pattern books are the way cities were developed years and years ago. And Norfolk did exactly what you said. Went through and showed existing houses and a way to modify houses. And I'm going to give this to you. Pattern books like in 1889 when cities were growing, and it really is a very detailed, comprehensive way to show how, for a builder or a homeowner or anybody, to build and develop. Mm-hmm. And from a builder's perspective, it's great because you can go look through the book and you can see examples and you can say, I have to do this, I can't do that, this is the way I have to do it. And there's pictures and everything, and builders are terrible about reading directions, but we do like looking at pictures. So it's very useful.
I appreciate it. And actually, and if you don't know this, you might find out soon, but actually in Williams Park specifically, there is a resident there who has gone through and basically cataloged all of the original homes, what style they are, what architectural features they have, and I know that they'd be happy to make that resource available to you.
That's
and
the
to
beginning
the city
of
as
a
well.
pattern book.
No, it is, exactly. There wouldn't be a need to reinvent the wheel in this case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry? Yeah, yes. Sorry, I didn't see you.
When I look at condition number 1, and it says that the composition of the homes in a residential subdivision shall include a mixture of elements, including but not limited to brick, stone, shake, hardy plank, and stucco. No elevation shall be comprised of 100% hardy plank. So I understand what Councilwoman Anelowitz is saying about the brick facade, but I think the words in here, no elevation shall be comprised of 100% hardy plank siding, sort of would eliminate that brick facade. And I think that some of the homes were being built that way, and perhaps that's why this was put in place like that, so you wouldn't have one whole, 3 sides hardy plank. But I do agree that the homes, there are some homes that the style needs to be probably all hardy plank around all 3 sides, and that we do need to look at that condition again. But my concern is if we allow it here in this particular request, how does that affect us for enforcing this condition on other developments that are being built right now as we speak? And maybe Scott, you could answer that for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try to answer that. I don't think this would have any effect on our ability to enforce the zoning ordinances. That's what variances are for. Variances, by definition, vary from the standard ordinances. So the fact that the standard ordinance reads this way and they're asking for a variance, I don't think that if the city grants this variance, I don't think it would limit the city's ability to enforce its ordinance, even if they didn't change the standard stipulation going forward. But I understand that they're probably going to look at it and talk about maybe changing it anyway. So, did that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Cochran, I'm leery of engaging in a legal debate in public, but I hear what you say, and that helps me in this situation because I have the same concern about setting a precedent. Standard condition number 1 is not a special stipulation for a specific neighborhood or a specific situation. It's been in existence for, gosh, I don't know, probably back into the 1990s for a long time. Many neighborhoods were built to that standard stipulation, and it wasn't varied. And I'm certainly very open to the conversation that Councilwoman Anulowitz had suggested, and which I support, to talk about should this be reworded, because I do think cementitious siding or whatever is much better than wooden siding that, I personally have had problems with in the past in my own homes, rotting and having to be painted and caulked, and, it's just a maintenance problem. So, I like the idea of having new products that work, but I'm concerned that if we vary a standard stipulation, not a special stipulation, not something unique to one property, but something that's been used and enforced over and over and over again, that it could mitigate our ability to address current situations in the city where it's my belief that rather than what Mr. Brown is doing, and he's doing everything exactly right. He's asking up front for permission. He's going through the process. He's filed a zoning request. The question is absolutely appropriate, and it's absolutely appropriate for this council to consider it. But what about the builders who didn't do that? What about the builders, and they're out there right now, who had the same standard stipulation, were told at the time permits were issued that this standard stipulation applied to the homes that they were getting ready to build, and yet chose to ignore that stipulation, chose to not abide by the zoning that they got and built a house with 100% siding anyway, which now is constructed and almost finished. And apparently our inspectors let it go because they never stopped the construction or never challenged the construction. How do we tell that guy that he's got to change a house that's already been mostly built if we give Mr. Brown his exception? I mean, the first thing I'm going to do is say, you're being unfair and discriminating against me, because why is my situation any different than his situation? I've got no problem with the request on its face. I like the style of the homes that he's proposing to build. I have no reason to think he wouldn't do exactly what he's said he's going to do, and that he's a wonderful builder. But how do we not set the city up for being unable to enforce our own ordinances and zoning stipulations, which builders were told about and chose to ignore?
You can answer, Scott, but I want to speak to a couple things. Go ahead. No, I think he's asking he's asking you a question, I guess, toward the end. But
yeah, I'll do my best. Really, there are a couple things that were kind of covered in that. The first is, does a variance of this special stipulation impact our ability to enforce this same stipulation later on? And I don't think it does, because and that's because the nature of a variance is, by definition, a deviation from a standard rule. So that's what a variance is. Now, if we varied all the time, like has been the case in some cities on other ordinances, then it's different, because it's kind of like you don't really have an ordinance that has ascertainable standards. It's just a piecemeal variance. But in this situation in particular, when you've got a neighborhood that is pretty much comprised of facades like are proposed here already, so you've got something that's consistent with the neighborhood. I don't think that the variance has any impact at all, because I think there's the factual distinction to be made here that this is a variance, that it's a variance to make this house consistent with the house next door and the house across the street and the house behind it. It's a variance to keep everything the same. So I don't think that is going to hurt the ability at all. I think that's the purpose of a variance, is to deviate from the terms. Now, the other question is, and they're two separate things, is if we have this rule in place and somebody has ignored this rule and we have sat back and watched them build a house yet not enforce this rule, how now can we enforce that? That's a different thing. That's a completely different thing. That's if we sit back and wait and watch somebody build something and we don't say anything about it until it's over. And I don't know of a situation like that, but if that happens, it's a whole different body of law. There are waiver issues and things like that apply there.
And that situation exists half a mile from where we're sitting here tonight, and I'd be happy to show it to you.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll tell you that's a really separate issue than the issue of if we grant this variance now. If somebody comes in for a development asking for a permit next month and asks for a variance and we don't grant it, are we in trouble because we granted this one? All these cases turn on their own set of facts. I would suspect if somebody came in a month from now requesting the similar variance, if the similar fact pattern existed, that you grant the variance if you're going to grant it today. I would think you'd act consistently. If somebody came in with a house in a neighborhood that had houses that were like this and wanted to build a house consistent with the neighborhood, I would think that the same factors that are present in this case would be present in theirs. And
here's what I want to say, though. I mean, we've asked our attorney for his opinion, and we've gotten a legal opinion. Oftentimes, I get opinions from Scott that I don't really agree with, but he's a lawyer. He's the one that. I'm not a lawyer. I certainly do not want to punish Mr. Brown or penalize Mr. Brown for coming up and asking for a variance to do something because somebody down the road is doing something down the road that may not be exactly right. We should address this on its own merit, and we ought not hold him or punish him because he's applied for this variance. Yes.
I just would like to ask Scott something else. When you said that about a house in a neighborhood that's different, what about a new development that had this condition? So it's not really homes around it, or you might find one around it that has hardy plank, but it's a new development with maybe, I don't know, 20 homes that agreed to this condition, and now they're putting up the hardy plank.
Yeah, I don't know of that situation. If there's, I mean, if the stipulation that's at issue today only concerns houses that face the main roads. So this doesn't deal with interior houses anyway. And if there's a zoning stipulation that someone is violating now, that's a completely separate issue. That whoever it is should probably come in and ask for a variance, and then you guys would consider the facts surrounding that and vote it up or down. It's kind of hard to see because I hadn't seen any of these places yet. But the abstract question of does granting a variance prohibit you from being able to enforce your zoning ordinance later? That's the answer to that's no. That's the reason you have, I mean, there'd be no purpose for having a variance because that's what a variance is. It's deviating from your standard laws.
So I just want to ask you another question, because the way I read this condition, it doesn't just say the houses that abut external roadways. It says no elevation shall be comprised of 100% hardy plank siding. And then after that, it follows, the residents whose lots abut external roadways shall not be permitted to utilize hardy plank for any elevation facing these roads. So I guess I see it as not just being the ones that abut external roadways, but also the elevations, the other three elevations.
No, what I was saying is what's at issue in this particular case, which is what we're, kind of focusing on, deals only with the residents whose lots abut external roadways. That's the condition that's proposed to be removed. That's what's redlined on the issue sheet.
But the sentence right before that says no elevation shall be comprised of 100% hardy plank siding, and we're not removing that. So I guess.
Right, we're not removing that. That's not an issue in this case. I mean, he testified that's not 100% hardy plank siding. He's got brick.
What about the other three sides, though?
We'll have to ask Ken about that. I mean, that hasn't been the issue.
Yeah, he would obviously. My interpretation would be he would have to not have 100% cementitious siding on any side.
Let me back up to this. I mean, I agree with Scott in the sense that I think we're getting off track with what we're trying to accomplish here, and that is we are having a discussion about a standard that we have already admitted that's been on the books for 15 or 20 years. To discuss the pros and cons of that attached to this request, I think it's the wrong forum to do that. And that was why it was suggested that the study of that condition number one as a separate element be done on that. And I think during that discussion, all of these issues can be addressed on that. I mean, that would be how what Mr. Brown wanted to do dealt with the external roadways, which is the last sentence on there. That's all I'm saying. For us to bring in other aspects of things that may or may not have occurred in relationship to his specific request, I think is a separate issue on that.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay.
Then at this time, I would like to go ahead and move to approve item 4A. This is item 2014-054, zoning request Z14-007. This is approval of a zoning amendment to modify zoning condition 1 of Z13-008. It is a 1.35 acre tract, land lot 593. The addresses are 1523 and 1531 Spring Street. The applicant is JWB Properties, LLC.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's well, it says 601, and Miss Pritchett is not here. How did that happen?
She's absent.
Oh, well, I thought that said abstained. I'm sorry. Hey, I got it now. It's approved 6-0, and 1 is absent. That's right. Miss Pritchett is not here, so that's approved. Item B is 2014-055, public hearing zoning request Z14-005, rezone from RM10 to RAD conditional, 0.36 acre tract, land lot 593, 1607 Walker Street. I know that doesn't say jugular. That says Younger. It was the J sign. Younger Homes LLC. Is the applicant here? Okay. Mr. Taylor, the background, please.
Mr. Mayor, as you mentioned, this is a zoning request at 1607 Walker Street. Younger Homes is the applicant. They're seeking approval to rezone a 0.36 acre tract from RM10 to RAD conditional to accommodate 2 single-family residences. The resulting density would be 5.56 units per acre. This rezoning request was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board at the February 10, 2014 meeting and was recommended for approval by a vote of 7-0. Staff has reviewed this request and does recommend approval for the development of 2 single-family units at a density of 5.56 units per acre with conditions.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone here that's in opposition to that would like to make any public comment concerning this rezoning request? Let the record show there is none. This is in Ms. Tara Nulowich's ward.
Thank you, Mr. Sudreth. Will you please join us?
Let me bring that up. This is a request by Younger Homes. This actually is fairly simple as well. The bottom line is there's a duplex out there today, and they want to tear the duplex down, split the lot, and put 2 single-family homes on it. And as a result of wanting to do that, they want to go from RM10 excuse me, to RAD conditional, which would allow the proposed lots to occur. Excuse me. We've had several houses built on Walker Street. As a matter of fact, we dealt with Walker Street at our last meeting. This actually is at the other end of Walker Street. But what they want to do is build stuff that is in compliance with other recently constructed homes. Here's the proposed site plan. As I said, we're really taking the duplex down and putting up 2 single-family detached houses. These are their elevations, issues from the side and the rear. They propose to use brick, cedar shake, hardy plank, etc. Combination on that. Again, just this was lot 9B. There's a subject property showing the duplex. The adjacent homes that are out there, you can see there are several new structures out there as well as one under construction. Excuse me. Staff does recommend, as well as the Planning Commission, approval of this zoning change to allow the two detached single-family units to occur in place of the duplex with the standard conditions, especially including number one, which we just talked about. But we also have several special conditions that deal with the lotting of the property, so that you would have a 15-foot front setback, a 7.5 side setback, a total of 15 feet between buildings, a rear of 25. The driveway, as you saw in the site plan, would be at least 22 feet. That is a standard that I've talked to you all about in the past, and that allows a car to actually be parked in a driveway without hanging over in the right-of-way and the sidewalk. That's where the 22 feet comes along. The right-of-way along Walker Street shall be increased to 50 feet. Therefore, a dedication of approximately 10 feet is required. And I apologize for my voice. Developers shall provide a 5-foot sidewalk with a 2-foot grass strip along Walker. That's a standard requirement in our development regs. And then all structures will be built to a maximum height of 35 feet as measured from the sidewalk. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Wilkerson.
What are these homes going to be constructed with? What material?
Ms. Wilkinson, I would ask that we would just ask them. They've told us it's a combination of materials, but I don't know what the percentages are exactly where they'll be placed at this moment.
Any other questions, Ms. Sutter?
This item tonight deals with just the lots themselves, not with what's going to be constructed on the lots. Is that accurate?
I thought it was conditional.
She's asking.
Yes, it is just to be able to subdivide those lots. As a normal practice, because it is an RAD, we attach those standard conditions on there.
Okay.
With that, plus the specific ones that I read.
Okay, is the applicant here? Would come down? We'll need to swear you in. Nothing personal. The lawyer says we have to do it. You tell us who you are. And
I'm Philip Younger. I'm a licensed architect, the owner of the property. My son is a builder. My son lives across the street. And he, with Colin Gallagher, developed all those houses as a Walker Street cottages that would go back 4 or 5 years. And so what we're doing is consistent with the rezoning we got for those Walker Street cottages, and we're just continuing that right now.
Did a good job, too, of those houses he previously built. So,
Right.
Anybody have any questions? Terry?
With some of the larger trees on the property, what are your plans for those? I know I've looked over the tree plan.
We're going to keep what we can in the front yard. However, we're going to have to lose a couple for the sidewalks. The big ones right up on the street, you're going to have to come out because of the sidewalk. So there'll be about 3 or 4 left in the center. The drawing shows that. The site plan shows that.
Ms. Wilson?
You were going to answer my question, I think, about the materials. You looked at me.
Well, this, I do think, as an architect, that this is a bigger issue that should be talked about in some other venue, because you're here almost trying to macro-manage what these buildings are going to be by dictating materials and what you use in front. And you get these unintended consequences, in my opinion, in that homes are being built on three sides with a certain material, would be it, and then you're putting faces on the fronts of these buildings, you know, a brick here, stone here, whatever. And from an architectural point of view, they don't have the integrity that I think a house should have. And so that's an issue that I don't think, I think it's something that needs to be discussed with your planning committee and whatever.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And so, yes, we're using cement board, we're using brick on the front, we're using cedar shingles because that's allowable on the front, but not hardy plank. And, you know, we're using some shingles on the side, combination of that. And so we're dealing with the menu of products just to kind of comply with what the zoning is. From an architectural point of view, I think you could deserve better if you had.
So you have to pretty much build it the way that you have to make it fit, not necessarily what somebody wants or what you would design it as an architect.
Right.
You're trying to do this and do that because we say you can only have this much of that much. And
follow into that trap, I guess.
yeah.
So.
Any other questions?
I might just suggest if council and staff are agreeable and Mr. Younger is agreeable, maybe we should consult with him as we try to reword and redefine some of our standard stipulations as it addresses architectural features. You
How
might
much
have
are your
ideas that you could share with us?
What are your hourly rates?
Hired for a long time.
I mean, it's good to have an architect come up here and say, you know, that he's having to sort of piecemeal make it work. And as we've talked about upstairs, this about, what, 15 years, 20 years old since we've looked at probably time for a new makeover.
Mm-hmm. And you can have, now you have a chance to look back and see what's being developed, how it's being developed,
right.
how your form city's taking shape right now. Yeah. Are there things that maybe you want to go in a different direction?
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
At this time, then, I would like to go ahead and move to approve item 4B, which is zoning request Z14-005. This is rezoning from RM10 to RAD conditional. It's a 0.36 acre tract, land lot 593. The address is 1607 Walker Street. The applicant is Younger Homes, LLC.
Second.
Motion second to approve this rezoning request. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. 6-0. Thank you very much. Item 5 is privilege licenses. We have none. Item 6 is formal business. A, 2014-064, approval of Ward 5 appointment to Parks and Recreation Board. Eric Fernando, terms to expire 12/31/2015. It's a sponsor of City Council, but I think that is Ms. Wilkinson.
Yes. I have a vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Board after Jason Saliba resigned and became part of the Downtown Development Authority. And Eric Fernald has agreed to serve on this board, and I'm very excited to have him serve. Thank you, Eric. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
A motion second. I think Eric's here. I think I saw him Saturday at the St. Patrick's Day. Good, he's a good man. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 6-0. Item B is 2014-056, approval of name change for the Aventine at Vinings apartment community to Rock Creek at Vinings. Mr. Taylor, the background, and I'll let Mr. Corky Welch take care of that.
Yeah, this item pretty much speaks for itself. There's actually been a change of ownership for the Aventine at Vinings apartment community. Ram Realty Services recently purchased the Aventine at Vinings apartment community, and the name Aventine is actually a proprietary brand registered to the prior owner, Graystar. As such, Ram is not permitted to use the name as required to rebound property. So they're coming to us and asking for approval to formally rename the apartment community to Rock Creek at Vinings. This has gone through the approval process through our city engineer and through our planning and zoning and through our fire department, and staff does recommend approval.
Mr. Corky Welch, I'm going to ask him to take care of that.
Thank you. Is the owner here by any chance? Could you step forward? I just wanted to ask if you had anything that you wanted to add to what Mr. Taylor's summary.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Stull from Ram Realty Services, and I think that pretty much sums it up. We probably would have stayed with the branded name, except we were precluded from doing so as a result of the contract. And Rock Creek is a name that we're using on other properties, another property here in the Atlanta area and also in Charlotte.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, I had the blessing with Ms. Pritchett this afternoon to make the recommendation to approve the name change for the Aventine at Vinings apartment community to Rock Creek at Vinings. I make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote.
15 years ago, we contacted the family about
Rock Creek, 6-0.
Just want to be
That's approved.
today. After that,
Item C, ordinance 2014-03, approval of the amendment to the City of Smyrna Code of Ordinance, Chapter 46, entitled Environment, to include Section 46-H, which prohibits smoking within all city-owned facilities and park properties. Mr. Taylor, the background, please.
Mr. Mayor, based upon contacts from some citizens, city staff was directed to draft language to prohibit smoking within all city-owned facilities, real property, and parks. And one thing I want to be clear on, that this no smoking ordinance is not an attempt to criticize smokers or to ban smoking, unlike what's been proposed in other cities. I believe some of our other Cobb County sister cities have actually proposed banning it altogether. This does not do that. This is only limited to city-owned facilities and parks properties. And in order to properly educate and notify the public about this new law, staff recommends that the ordinance actually take effect 30 days from the date of City Council approval. And so staff does recommend approval.
Okay. Ms. Terry Nulowich.
Yes, thank you. I'd actually like to give a little bit of background on this. This is something that the council began discussing in our work sessions on February 3rd. It is something that, again, was citizen-driven in the sense that we have heard from residents who are a little bit concerned when they go to parks and there is a lot of when there is smoking there, and it's something that, again, we're not pushing this because we want to ban smoking everywhere. This is specifically related to parks. It's not unprecedented in the metro area by any means, and it's really not unprecedented in the city of Smyrna. People who attend our food truck events, who attend the birthday celebrations, the summer concerts, the Jonquil Festival, have probably noticed the very large signs that are posted throughout those events, reminding people that smoking is prohibited at those events. So what this really does is it expands upon that and brings it to all of our parks. Smoking is already banned and prohibited inside city buildings. This extends that to city parks. There will be designated smoking areas. That's another thing that this 30-day window does. It allows us to put these designated areas in place. And again, this is something that the council has been discussing since early February of this year.
Any other comments or questions? Make your motion.
Yeah. If there are no other questions or discussion, then I'd like to go ahead and move to approve item 6C, which is the amendment to the city's Code of Ordinance, Chapter 46, to include Section 46-8, which prohibits smoking within all city-owned facilities and parks properties. I think the item text that's up here, though, is for item 6B.
Okay. We have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a substitute motion to table.
If it's a lack of a second.
Second.
No, wait, hold on. It's a lack of a second on the original motion. Does it? Okay. Obviously, they've got this thing worked out down on this end. Go ahead, Mr. Fennell. Okay. Got a motion to second by Mr. Lineker to table.
Mr. Mayor, to support my motion, I agree with Ms. Nolowens. I think
no, there's no discussion. We just got to have a
just articulate.
There's no discussion. There's just a motion to table, and there just needs to be a date. Table to when?
I move to table.
To when? There needs to be a date.
How long?
You know, I'm not sure how long it's going to take us to work this out. I'd say 2 cycles.
The first meeting, the second meeting in April, then, right?
April 21.
Okay. Motion and a second to table April 21st. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. Let's approve 5-1 to table. Okay. Item D. Ordinance 2014-0, approval of amendment to Chapter 7, Article 1, Section 70-2A of the City of Smyrna Code of Ordinances prohibiting alcoholic beverages at city parks with the exception of closed functions and the city-sanctioned events within the Smyrna Market Village Green Area, and Taylor Bronner Park. Mr. Taylor, the background.
Mr. Mayor, Chapter 70, Article 1, Section 70-2 of the City's Code of Ordinances regulates conduct in city parks. Currently, one of those regulations states that alcohol is not permitted in city parks except at closed indoor functions. Example, this may be at a private event at the community center. However, what has become a normal practice has been the use of alcohol, particularly wine and beer, at city concerts and other events that may be going on here on the Village Green area and also at Taylor Bronner Park. And so it's really become something that's really difficult to enforce. Therefore, staff is coming forward and recommending that we actually change the code of conduct to allow the use of alcohol at city-sanctioned events within the Smyrna Market Village Green area and the Village area, and also at Taylor Bronner Park. It would be these 2 areas only. Staff does recommend approval.
This is under Miss Susan Wilkinson's committee.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 6D, approval of amendment to Chapter 70, Article 1, Section 70-2A of the City of Smyrna's Code of Ordinance prohibiting alcohol beverages at city parks with the exception of closed functions and city-sanctioned events within the Smyrna Market Village Green area, and Taylor Bronner Park.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion?
Your Honor, I'd just like to say in support of this that two important things. One, I think we're kind of decriminalizing a lot of behavior that's going on anyway, and I don't think anybody wants to go out and arrest mom and dad in front of their kids because they have a bottle of wine with them at a concert or something like that. At the same time, this doesn't change the law about public drunkenness or behavior or misconduct. I mean, those kinds of things are still enforceable. We're trying to be more friendly and family friendly and open to how folks want to enjoy our amenities and our parks and our concerts and food trucks and other kinds of things. But we're not saying this is a license to behave like everybody does in Buckhead on Saturday night and go wild and crazy. That's not going to happen. You've got to remain responsible adults in your use and consumption. So I mean, I support this because I think it actually puts our staff in a better position to enforce what needs to be enforced without creating a situation where somebody does something that we might all in hindsight agree is ridiculous.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 6-0. Item 7 is commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is consent agenda. Mr. Taylor, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval?
We have two items tonight. One is the approval of the March 3rd, 2014 Mayor and Council meeting minutes. And the other one is, second one is to approve the use of council chambers on March the 19th, 2014 from 6:30 p.m. until 9 o'clock p.m. for the annual Oak Ridge Estates HOA meeting.
Your motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
All those in favor of the motion, please vote. Somebody forget to vote? Got just 5. Okay, that's approved 6-0. Committee reports. We'll start tonight with Mr. Ron Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, happy St. Patrick's Day for all of us who are on this day Irish. I want to thank compatriots of mine who work on making this a safe holiday. We had our Safe Holiday launch on Friday of the Governor's Office of Highway Safety and a group that Chief Lee and I belong to called Team Georgia. It's a statewide safe and sober driving and boating coalition. We urge all of you, if you don't have a designated driver when you're out on holidays like this, that you seek one out. And if you can't get home, we have taxi cabs and AAA will tow your car home and get you home safely. So we want to make sure everybody's safe. So to get an update from the fire service, I'd like to call on our chief and let her come and give us the latest. Please welcome Smyrna Police Chief Paige Day. Fire Chief, what did I say? I'm looking at the cops. He has a gun. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, Mayor and Council, it's very nice to see you on this St. Patrick's Day. And we've been very busy in the fire department, and I'm proud to say I brought each and every one of you our 36-month strategic plan. So we've been working very hard on defining ourselves from our mission, our vision, our code of values, and I have a copy for each one of you that I'll give to you, Terry. The other thing we've been working very hard on is the Ready Smyrna Prepare-a-thon. I'm sure all of you are aware of this. What's going on? We're getting national recognition. We have representatives from FEMA coming in on Friday. We're going to have a press conference with key officials. Mr. Mayor will be there as well as Councilman Fennell. We're very proud. Actually, Smyrna is going to be a national prototype for the Prepare-a-thon. So the amount of work that's gone in from emergency management, fire department, police department, partnership with government officials, it's going to be a great thing. At the elementary school, Smyrna Elementary School, there's going to be the tornado drill that's going to go off at 9 o'clock on Friday morning. And then the community-wide drill will continue Friday, March 21st at noon, and we have several business partners that are helping with that as well. So this is going to be big. It's going to be great. It's putting Smyrna on the map nationally as far as a preparedness standpoint. And I think this is the first of many great things that we're going to do. So with that, I'll give you... And
the Saturday festivities at Smyrna Elementary.
I had it here, right here.
Okay.
On Smyrna, we're going to continue this since this is gaining national recognition. On Saturday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., at Smyrna Elementary School, we're going to have a family preparedness expo where families can learn how to make preparedness kits. There's going to be representatives from the Red Cross and other agencies, key agencies, talking about preparing yourselves in case of an emergency and what to do if there's a natural disaster in your area. There will be family fun, bounce houses, games. We'll have a ladder truck there. Food will be available, and it's a free event for your family, so come and join us.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Police Chief, man with a gun, David Lee, please come forward. Thank you, Chief Day.
Good evening. One of the things I wanted to that we're real happy about and proud of, we had 6 officers graduate from basic mandate training at the police academy last week. One of the things we did a little bit different right after their graduation, we did their official swearing in right afterwards so that their family and friends who came to watch them graduate from the police academy were able to be even more involved with that process. We've had a couple openings in our 911 communication center. We recently hired one. Now she'll be starting at the end of the month. Her name is Heather Moran, and she comes to us from Pensacola, Florida, and she's got experience there. In fact, it was pretty amazing to me when we opened up the application process, just how many people we're getting from out of state. So the word's getting around that Smyrna's the place to be. We had our second coffee with the cop. This time we had it at the Atlanta Bread Company on South Cobb Drive. We're having a lot of success with this, and it's really, I'll be honest with you, it's a lot of fun too. Getting to meet a lot of the Smyrna residents, and being able to answer a lot of questions that they have. So that's we've only had 2 so far, but the success has been real well with it. And then finally, we're hosting our second firearm safety course on Thursday, April 24th at 7:00 p.m. It's going to be here in the council chambers. The registration hasn't started yet. We're just announcing this today. My training sergeant, Tim Sharples, is working with Jennifer Bennett to coordinate getting the registration process on the city's website. It'll be open up to the first 100 people who put in for it. And that's all I have.
Seems like you're getting closer and closer to Krispy Kreme. You were at Rev, and you went to Atlanta Bread Company, and now you're just Krispy Kreme. That's
true. You know, Krispy Kreme has those free hats that you can get too.
I've got several of them.
I bet you.
All right, Boy Scouts are leaving. Are you happy? Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Y'all have endured longer than I would have.
Thank you, Chief, for your diligence with the team on DUIs and making sure our roads remain safe. I appreciate that, as do all of the folks across the state with Team Georgia.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Chief Lee, can I ask you a question? I was watching Channel 2 the other night, and they were talking about this app that Marietta Police use for the phones where you can take a picture and it sends it straight to the police department. So do we have anything like that? Are we thinking about anything like that?
We don't have that. That's something new. In fact, I've not had a chance to see what that's like. I'll be honest with you, Chief Flynn from Marietta usually has a big open house to put something out new, and he didn't do that this time. But that's something we can check into.
I just thought it was very interesting because how many times have you seen something and you think, we carry these like little, so we could take a picture of it and just send it over.
Oh, no question. Of course, there's a lot of police departments wish people didn't have those phones, but we're not one of those. But no, it is, something that's pretty cool, and we will be checking into it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Concludes my.
Mr. Wade Lineker.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to invite Kay Bullock, our Director of Human Resources, to come forward with a brief report. Terry Graham, our City Clerk of the Court, has no report tonight. Ms. Bullock.
Last time I was in front of you, I told you that we were heading to the Atlanta's Healthiest Employer Awards breakfast. It was last month, and once again, now I'm not liking this, but I'm happy about it too. We were awarded 3rd place in the medium-size employers. First place, though, went to the city of Kennesaw. That's hopefully going to be the last time they become first. We are making an effort this year to become first next year. But we have won a second one of these beautiful glass apples. This time it is engraved with the city of Smyrna on it. It is on display in the Human Resources Department. But to help us get to that number one spot next year, we're really going to be kicking off even more activities this year. We've got a strong wellness committee that has really come forward, several new members on that. We've got participation from the police and fire, too, that are on that committee. So I think we're going to do a lot of great things. I know the fire department has coming up, I believe in April, an event downtown where they're going to be climbing 1,200 stairs. I think there's a few of us other employees that are thinking about getting a group and climbing with them. So we want to try to do something like that. But starting later this week, we will be kicking off our big campaign this year, and the first one will be a Couch to 5K for our employees. It's trying to get people off the couches at home and working together to try to make it to the Jonquil Jog at the end of April.
I'm going to say here, for the record, and I've told Max, I can get you running a 5K.
I didn't hear that. But you go from Couch to 5K, you're going to have some hurt people.
Well, they have a 4-week. You actually can do it. There's a 4-week program that our wellness coach Kelly is putting together, and the information will be going out. And it's geared to try to get those employees who are not active out, at least starting to walk, because you don't have to run the Jonquil Jog. You can walk it. So many people do and enjoy it that much. But even getting them out to doing that much, that's where we're starting. But there'll also be a second group that we're going to try to get more into the running. So it's going to be 2 different categories of our employees, but that's going to be our first event for this year to get people up and moving and trying to move toward that number one spot for next year.
I'll tell you what I'll do right now, and TV and everything. There's 3 male council members. I will challenge them to the Jonquil City Jog right now.
Ooh. Bring it.
You're not one of the guys.
What's the date?
What a great example that would be for the employees, too.
I'm just doing...
All y'all can do it, I promise.
6th of April is the date. So we look forward to seeing you, and we'll even get Kelly in touch with you so she can help you with the Couch to 5K. But we still, again, would like to thank the council for your ongoing support for the wellness program. It is working. It's working extremely well for the employees, and it starts from the top, and we appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to hosting the Oak Ridge Estates Homeowner Association this coming Wednesday here at City Hall for their annual HOA meeting. It's going to be good to see those folks. Also would like to wish my beloved kid sister, my young sister, I'm sure she's 29 again, but happy birthday, Susan. Today is her birthday. And I saw her earlier, delivered her present, and gave her all the requisite cards, Your Honor. So, and I know you saw your mom over the weekend, and
yep.
I saw mine.
Saw her today.
Did all the good family stuff. And with that, I yield.
Miss Susan Wilkinson.
I'd like to ask Steve Ciaccio to come to the podium and give us a report on Parks and Rec. And I would like to welcome him back from his knee surgery and see what he has.
Get up here in a matter of 93 steps. Thank you. 2 items, and I'd like to refer to them this evening because I'm getting some calls about them. The Eileen Wolf Pool for seniors down on Bank Street has a new roof. There's only trim left. We appreciate folks putting up with some of the parking woes associated with that construction. You put a roof over a glass building, the interior gets dark. That's just the matter of the situation. It is not so dark that it is dangerous. We will either change the bulbs or we will add an additional bank of fixtures. We're going to work that out. So I get calls from time to time, Steve, the sun is not shining through the space that used to have no roof on it anymore. That's kind of obvious. And we're not going to make it daylight, but we will make people feel like they have sufficient lighting soon. At Cobb Park, a lot of folks think of Cobb Park, they think of Kidscape Village. We are putting in an additional playground set immediately next to Kidscape Village. It is universal. It is an all-access playground. Had we not got rain on Sunday, I'm pretty sure that the rubber surfacing that was going to go in there would have been finished. They are mostly done with that. I'm getting a lot of calls about that. Folks are real excited. It is for those with wheelchairs and walkers and, of course, folks who do not have disabilities. It'll be open soon enough. I know that Scott's folks, Public Works, will want to do a little touch-up, maybe some landscaping, but we hope to have that open pretty soon. That was a CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant, federally funded playground addition, so we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Before you leave, it's like I was driving down Bank Street today. Was there an accident at Kyle Park?
Probably someone drove through the fence at the corner of Bank and Sanford last night.
Does anybody know about that? Chief
It was
Lee?
earlier than that because I drove through there early Sunday afternoon and it was down at that time.
Yesterday, okay.
Yeah, just went down yesterday, I guess. So I'll remind Frank
It's very
about it.
obvious.
Yeah.
And I know you'll take care of it. Steve, it's good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you. I'd like to ask Mary Moore, come give us a report on the library.
Good evening. Today I learned how to say hello in Irish. Diurit. That's how you say it. I had to practice that a lot to get that right. We spent the day learning Irish at the library using the Mango Languages Learning Tool. This is accessible to all of our card holders, and it's a database you can use on your computer, or if you download the app to your phone, you can use it to learn a language on the go. Information about Mango is on the library website, or you can just drop by the library and ask a staff member to help you get started on using Mango. A new art exhibit has been installed in the upper level gallery and display case. The paintings and painted silk scarves are by Lois Bell. Ms. Bell will teach 2 workshops on painting silk scarves. And there are 2 options. You can either go April 14 or April 28. Spaces are limited to the workshops, so if you want to go, you do need to reserve a space at the front desk. There is a fee for the workshop, but that covers all of the materials you need for your scarf. And more information about the workshop is on the website. Smyrna Library is participating in Money Smart Week in April. This is a national initiative to promote financial literacy. We're holding 3 workshops, a couponing workshop, a LinkedIn workshop, and a money management workshop, which will be taught by Team Clark Howard. We're very excited about that. Space is limited for all of these events, so if you want to attend, please contact the Adult Services Department, and more information is available on the library website. The library will conduct an upgrade of its integrated library system on Friday, March 28. Instead of opening at 10 a.m. that day, we'll be opening at noon. So in those 2 extra hours that we'll have, our IT department will be working out any of the bugs created by the upgrade, and then the rest of our staff will have a staff meeting, and then also we'll be conducting some staff training. Tomorrow is the first day of our Smyrna Library's March Madness Tournament of Authors. Each day, customers can vote for authors in different categories, and they can either vote in the library or vote via social media. And so as we move through the month, authors will continue to advance through the brackets, and the final matchup will be April 7. So these are living and dead authors, and the ultimate winner will receive a special display in the library and his or her own pin board on our Pinterest page.
How do you say, what was that Irish word?
Diurit.
What does that mean?
It means hello.
Hello. Hello. Good day.
Thank you.
Good day, mate.
Thank you, Mary. I'd also like to thank Chateau Walk HOA for inviting me to their HOA meeting this upcoming Wednesday night. And also, I'd like to announce that I'm going to be having a Ward 5 meeting at the Wolf Center on March 29th. That's on a Saturday in the morning from 9 to 11. And so I hope you can be there. Thank you.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see Miss Ann Kirk out there, but she's going to come give us a report for Keep Smyrna Beautiful.
Thank you, Councilman Welch. We want to thank everyone, especially Iron Mountain Secure Shredding Company, for making our shredding event a success. We had 251 citizens participating, and they donated 12,000 pounds of paper for shredding. That was a really good day for all of us. The jonquil bulbs are almost sold out. There may be a few left at Backyard Feed and Seed, but that is the last until next October. So if you do buy them, get them in the ground as quickly as possible. They'll take about 4 weeks to come up and bloom. We have 36 plots available at the community garden, and there is information on the website about how to get one of those. They are going fast, and that's 36 plots for 14,000 households. So although it sounds like a lot, it's not going to last for long. And our Great American Cleanup event will be April 12th from 8 a.m. until noon. We'll have food and T-shirts for all the volunteers that come out. We should have the city of Smyrna blanketed with volunteers cleaning up and sprucing up. So we look forward to that, and keep your fingers crossed for good weather. Our garden tour will be May the 17th from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. So please save the date. And thank you very much.
Jonquils. I think the prettiest jonquils in the city are on Pine Tree Drive.
Yes. Yes, thousands of them.
Yep.
Thousands of them. And there is also on Reed Road, there is a yard there that the front yard is covered with jonquils.
Cool.
So go by and see those. They'll probably be peaking right now.
Yep, they're great.
Thank you.
Don't forget Frank Martin.
Frank says he has no report this evening.
Frank.
Mr. Scott Stokes is.
Last time we missed him.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I have no further report.
Ms. Terry Nulowich.
I'd like to invite Jennifer Bennett with Community Relations to come forward. And while she's coming forward, I will let you know that Tony Joe Howard with Finance has no report tonight.
Just as an additional reminder, the Jonquil City Jog is Saturday, April 26th. You'll see that and other items or other events that start in April and run through the entire spring and summer into the fall season in your event calendar that gets mailed out in the April water bill. I want to bring your attention to a new event we have in Smyrna this year, and it's called Taylor Bronner Park with Art. It's an art exhibit and sale hosted by the Taylor Bronner House Foundation. It's listed on the city website. It runs from April 4th to the 13th. It's one that you shouldn't miss and one to watch. Any questions? You can find out more about all of the events and all of the activities in the city of Smyrna on smyrnacity.com. But also, I keep urging you to follow our social media feeds. You don't have to have an account to follow Facebook and Twitter if you link off of the city page. But I think you'll find it rewarding if you figure out how to get a Facebook page or a Facebook account and Twitter and catch our feeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. I would just like to add that I look forward to continuing the discussions that we had tonight, specifically with regard to the proposed smoking ban in city parks. I think it's something that's important. I think that it's the right thing to do. I think that we've been talking about this for quite a while, and there were some very valid concerns that have been raised by members of council. I believe that those concerns were addressed, and I look forward to addressing this again at a meeting very soon. With that, I yield.
Ms. Andrea Bluestein.
Mr. Ken Sudworth, please, if you'd like to share with us some great news on housing or housing starts or whatever.
It is good news. I think I told you after the first of the year that we ended 2013 with about a 10% increase in the numbers. That trend has continued all the way through January and February. And just to sort of illustrate that, we've issued 39 new home permits. In the 9 or 10 weeks, I guess, of the year. So all of our numbers, as I've said in the past, continue to go up or stabilize at around that 10% of what we've done the previous year. So the trend still continues, and as you know, just from the number of requests and meetings that you see me at, business is good.
And believe it or not, some of you know that I do real estate part-time. I I have actually had people who live out of state wanting to buy something here in the Smyrna area, condo apartment or something, you know, small house, so that they can walk to the Braves games, which I find incredible. But that doesn't mean that you can add $10,000 to your whatever you think your property is worth, because that's not working out. But some of these people are interesting, and they come bearing cash. I would like to announce that I am going to hold a Ward 2 meeting at Bronner Hall in the reception room on April 30th, starting at 6:30 till about 8 or so. And I told you last time, this time it's 3 days till spring, but it's like freezing outside. So let's just hope that the weather improves. But with that, I yield.
Mr. Eric Taylor, anything? Scott Cochran? Our city clerk, Terry Graham, anything? We have no show calls here, and we got one person signed up for citizen Thomas Blackwood. Is he here? Thomas Blackwood, 2615 Hickory Circle. This is okay. Well, he's not here. It says his topic was, are you going to fix potholes on and around Spring Road? Huh? Okay. No one else. Any other business be brought before this body? If not, I declare this meeting adjourned. Looks like, I'll tell you what time it is. At 9 o'clock? 9:01. We're adjourned. Hey, Ken.